water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar, master of all four elements, could stop them. But when the world needed him most, he vanished.
Hello gamers, today I'm covering a game that I was really hoping to like, but the game came out in 2023 and I haven't heard a single good thing about it. That game being Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Quest for Balance. So you may be wondering, if I believe this game is going to be such a bad game, why am I still buying and playing it? Well, one, I got it secondhand, so it was very cheap, and well, apparently I like pain, and I've played too many games that I like at the moment. So I would rather ruin the streak of good games myself with a game I know is going to be bad, instead of waiting for a game I think's going to be good and turns out to be awful. But hey, like the right-wing grifters on YouTube, change my mind. So let's see if Avatar: Quest for Balance can do the impossible. Now this isn't the first video I have made on an Avatar game, so I'm going to try to gush about the show to a minimum. Apart from mentioning that it is one of the best pieces of media ever made and is possibly the best children's show ever made. And I'm not just saying that because the show came out when I was a kid, as rewatching the show now, you can tell that yes, it's a children's show, but outside of the first 2 episodes and maybe the Zombies of Omashu episode, it doesn't really rely on stupid sort of baby humour, making it more palatable for an adult audience and children alike. And it has a story to tell that doesn't pull its punches, maybe even killing people, kind of maybe. Hashtag rest in peace Jet.
Don't worry, Katara. I'll be fine.
He's lying.
And all the other people and killed, but claims he's never taken a life, like all those soldiers he throws under a lake and all that. And let's not forget about Zuko's story. One of the best redemption arcs ever written as far as I'm concerned. But I said I wasn't going to talk about the show, and here we are, me running my mouth for about 2 minutes about the show. So let's quickly move on before I start talking about how much I dislike the ending of Avatar, much like how I love Life is Strange but dislike the ending to that game. Nope, there I go again. Next point, quickly, move on. So, who made this game? Well, that is a good question, as if I'm being honest, I have never heard of these developers before and only vaguely recognize the publisher's name, but I think I'm getting them confused with someone else. The developers being Bamtang Games, who on their website say a lot of their games are developed under NDAs, which I didn't really know that was a thing in the gaming industry. But what games they can say they make are a bunch of Nickelodeon licensed games. That and apparently The Search for Amelia Earhart. I wonder if they find her. And then the publisher are Game Mills, who as I mentioned, I think I've heard of, but now I think about more, I think I'm confusing them for Game Loft, the mobile game developers. I don't know. But they seemingly just publish the games that Bamtang Games make. That and like Street Outlaw and the Karate Kid games apparently. Which doesn't fill me with any confidence going into this. But once again, I'm still open to being wowed. Just a little less so. So let's dive into the game before I lose any more of my confidence and just say screw it and go play some Siege. So now let's talk about the game, and oh boy is there a lot to say about it. Let's just say this game goes into a very infamous category of games I've covered on the channel, that being games I haven't completed. And if you don't include games that I can't complete like PT or SOA The Prospect, there are only 2 games so bad that I couldn't bring myself to finishing them. This game and Tony Hawk's Underground 2. So why couldn't I bring myself to finish this game? Well, it's pretty simple. It's just so boring. How can you take one of my favorite series of media and make it so boring? Wait, now that I think about it, why does it always happen to Avatar? First the M. Night movies, then the Netflix show, and now this. Why everyone make my favourite series so boring? But why is this game so boring? Well, let's get into that. First of all, the story. The game is basically retelling the TV show, which I do prefer when my licensed games attempt to do something different, but that's fine. But they pick the weirdest parts of the game to let you play. Like there's a large part of book 1 that has you trapped in the Fire Nation ship, which was a very small part of the show. And then there's a Subway Surfers penguin sledding segment. But then we don't even get to see Zuko arrive at the Southern Water Tribe village or Aang handing himself over. Instead, we get it read to us whilst we look at a box of text.
Aang returned to the village and faced Zuko. He surrendered so the Fire Nation would leave the village alone. Taken to Zuko's ship, Aang soon manages to escape imprisonment.
And then it also just doesn't include things that I personally think would be cool in an Avatar game, like when Aang goes sicko mode at the Northern Water Tribe. That would be an awesome set piece to play, but no. I get to play Subway Surfers clones and do puzzles. Oh my god, the puzzles. They are so bleh. It's just, you need to move a box to get it into the right spot, and that's basically it. Sometimes you get to make ice boxes to help you move boxes, and sometimes Toph can destroy some weaker walls. But I mean, theoretically, an earthbender with the skills of Toph would be able to take down any earthen wall. But what do I know about it? It's not like I've watched Avatar 10 times, then watched this YouTube channel overanalyzing Avatar like 2 times. By the way, if you like Avatar and you somehow have not seen the overanalyzing Avatar series, I highly recommend you check it out. But it just makes you wonder, if the game isn't made for me, who knows the show very well, it sure as hell isn't made for someone who doesn't know the show, as it's absolutely horrible at introducing characters or plot points. They just kind of appear and are a part of the story. They show up with no introduction or anything, and I feel that would just confuse kids when people vital to the plot of the game and the show just show up without any introductions, or like, it's not natural, they just appear. Which also leads me to think that this game isn't really made for children. Like, who is this game's target audience? I don't know. Maybe the studio just pushes out Nickelodeon slop to make some money. But let's talk about the game's upgrading system. Moving on from Nickelodeon slop. During the game, you can play as a bunch of different characters. Let's list them for funsies. There's of course all the members of Team Avatar. Aang, Katara, Sokka, Toph, and of course, hello, Zuko here. And on top of that, you also get to play as Suki, King Boomy, Uncle Iroh, and the Blue Spirit. Now, one of the bigger problems I have with the upgrade system is that the last 3 characters I mentioned, you play as once, but the game doesn't tell you that, and gives them a full upgrade tree anyways that you can spend your tokens on. So let's just say you're at the prison as the Blue Spirit and you really like the way he plays. So you upgrade him using most of your tokens you've gained so far in the game. And then they are lost forever. Like, at least have a little pop-up saying, this character won't appear again outside of this mission or this chapter. But none of that really matters, as if you're playing the game, the only character worth upgrading is Sokka, as he has gone from the brains behind Team Avatar to its strongest member. Which brings us on to combat. Now, all combat encounters take place in a blue box, which I am not a fan of. I have always disliked games with this feature, not because I want to flee per se, but it's just so easy to get stuck in the corner and become stun locked until death, which happened quite a lot in my short playing time of this game. Oh, and then there are shielded enemies, which is another reason why I think it's hard to figure out the audience who this game is made for. A lot of the game's systems are holding your hand through them, making this game basically for toddlers, but then there are shielded enemies, which is when one bender you are fighting puts a shield on someone, making them immune to damage, meaning you need to kill the bender first. But the game doesn't tell you this. Now, the bender and the shielded guy are connected by a line of fire, so I got the point, but for a game that holds your hand for everything else, I found it strange that it just doesn't hear. Now, if I'm being honest, I've also had enough about talking about this game from now on. It's just a bit of a bummer and my mind has not been changed. But there are still a couple more things I want to bring up, so let's do that in a rapid fire style before one more thing I want to tack on at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. But first, it's rapid fire time. So let's get into it. This game does the same thing that Avatar Burning Earth did, which is the game I covered previously on the channel, and that is not put Toph in the right outfit. Toph, before she leaves with the gang, is normally seen wearing a white dress, especially around her family, whilst Team Avatar stay at the Belfong estate. She is just seen wearing her normal getup. Clearly the developers just didn't want to design the white dress look for Toph, which happens a lot in this game and Avatar games for some reason. Then there is the voice acting. None of it is bad per se. It does the job. Also, almost none of the original cast return apart from two people. The first being everyone's maybe favourite running gag, the cabbage merchant, who in the TV show was played by James, I want to say Sie? S-I-E, I don't know how you say that, I'm sorry, I should look this up. So, does he voice the cabbage merchant? No, according to IMDb, he voices Master Yu and the goddamn Fire Lord Ozai himself. Like, why have him in the game and not at least get him to also do the cabbage guy? He literally has one line in the game that's, "Oh, my cabbages."
My cabbages!
You're telling me you couldn't pay him a little bit extra to do that? I don't know. And then there's D. Bradley Baker, who is the voice of a lot of the Avatar creatures like Oppa and Momo. In the game, he voices Heibai, who he also voiced in the TV show, so good work, game. He didn't, or at least isn't credited as voicing Oppa or Momo, so like, come on. I don't even know if Oppa makes a sound in this game, and there is a Subway Surfers segment where you play as Oppa. And lastly, there is the fact that the game doesn't let you move the camera for puzzles. For the most part, it just stays fixed. You can do a little swivel side to side. So riddle me this, why put parts of the puzzle behind boxes where you then can't move the camera around, so you spend 5 minutes trying to line up the correct attack to move a box? Is there a reason? I don't think so. To be honest, I don't know if anyone playtested this game. But moving on to my last little topic I want to cover, as I don't want this video to be all negativity. So I thought I would talk about what I want in an Avatar game. So let's start with the setting. And I would not want the game to do a Star Wars, where you're boxed in timeline wise. So I would do a KOTOR and go decades, if not centuries in the past. Probably centuries to avoid Aang being in the iceberg and all that. The only reason I picked the past as well is I personally think it would be better without the technological improvements of Korra. And then this is probably where I'd lose a lot of people, but I would make it an RPG, maybe even an MMORPG. Yes, like SWTOR, leave me alone, I love that game. Where you pick what element you want to play as, and boom, game. It can even take place in the opening years of the war, so there is no avatar for you to want to play as. But you can still play as a maybe unknown airbender resistance hiding from the Fire Nation. But then you still get the Star Wars box thing. As you know, all the airbenders must die, and that the Fire Lord and his sons must survive. But hey, go even further back then. I don't know, I just think about it a lot, but not as much as I think about a narratively driven King Arthur game. Please, someone make that, please. I will love you forever. But anyways, if you guys have, actually now that I think about it, Kingdom Come Deliverance is probably the closest I will ever get to a King Arthur video game, and I'm okay with that because that's a good game. But anyways, if you guys have enjoyed this video, maybe tell me how you would want an Avatar game to be like, or what your dream game that doesn't exist is. And if you've enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. I have been J104 and I'll see you guys around, hopefully. Peace.